Welcome back to the due diligence series on the Planet MicroCap podcast. I'm your host, Robert Kraft. You can follow me on Twitter at Bobby K. Kraft. That's BOBBYKKRAFT. And joining me today is Tuvia Barlev, CEO and chairman of Actelis Networks. It's a publicly traded company. The symbol is ASNS on NASDAQ. Tuvia, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
Good morning, Robert. I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on. So let's start off with, this is a question that I ask everybody on here. It's the first question. I love hearing everyone's answer here. So if you could describe Actelis in one sentence, what would that be?
Well, we are providers of cyber-safe, rapid deployment networking for large area IoT projects such as cities, campuses, whole countries sometimes, military organizations, railroads, highways, all those.
Very good. All right, so we're gonna break all that down. So let's take a look back at Actelis's history. When was the company founded, and what was the original thesis for its founding?
Well, the company was founded, in fact, established in around 99, mid of 99, 1999, I should say. And the idea was that people need to be connected. Since then, we learned that also devices need to be connected and machines need to be connected. The connectivity thing is a big deal, and without it, there's really not much you can do in terms of digitizing and modernizing the universe of applications. And with that, the question was how to get everything to be able to be connected at good quality and high speed, and within the possibility of doing that within a given time and budget. And since there's also the aspect of cyber safety and cybersecurity, which added another compounding aspect of the whole thing. It has also to be safe and be protected against interruptions from bad actors. So that was the starting point. And with that, we have looked at what's available. Do more with what you got, and realize that there's so much that has been invested already in connecting people at low speed, just a voice connectivity or some command and control in the older IoT technology. So there's a lot of copper lines, coax, twisted pairs, laid in the billions upon billions of lines have been deployed over the last 100 years. Or more. And now the question is, we want to provide connectivity that is as fast and as reliable and as cyber safe as possible. Is fiber and retrenching the universe the only way, or can we supplement it with something that is relying on the existing technology and existing infrastructure? And can we do that without ripping apart the whole thing? So our technology initially started with, we can help connect people, and the first focus was in enterprise markets by applying signal processing that we've developed the technology with, deep knowledge and understanding of what's going on, some inspiration from the wireless arena and military technology onto utilizing the billions and billions of copper pairs in the ground. And that was how we started. And this is a market that was addressed towards the telecom operators. And that was the starting point.
So, Tuvia, to help put this into context, because Actelis is a classic story in MicroCap that on paper you're first reading it, cyber hardened rapid deployment network solution, wide area IoT application. Like, I'm sure half the time people are looking like, okay, huh? So to put it into context, what was the previous standard that was being done in the IoT space that Actelis is looking either to enhance or replace?
Right. So either IoT or telecom, both, I have been utilizing for a long time their copper infrastructure, and again, coax or other wires, without this new spin on pretty heavy signal processing technology that can do a lot more than originally has been done. Also, there was this approach of we're going to use one line at a time. And one line individually, can do voice pretty well, possibly DSL at some point. But this is all technology that is relatively low speed and not really reliable, because the copper is easily interrupted by any electromagnetic interference, or I don't know, people stepping on it or whatnot. When Actelis came into the game, what we decided to look at is copper as a system, because there's so many wires out there. And if you take an approach that you look at them jointly, say not just utilizing one, but rather a multitude, could be 2 or even 16 sometimes, wires, and creating a situation where they're protecting each other, load sharing, canceling the interferences between them, and synchronizing their transmission phase in a way that they're synergetic and additive, accretive to each other's performance. That is creating a very, very strong effect. And I'm giving this maybe not completely intuitive example. When you take one wire that has a lot of errors on it, let's say 1 out of 1,000, in engineering terms, it's a bit error rate. 1 bit an error within 1,000 bits, that's barely intelligible. You cannot even drive voice through it. But if you take 4 lines and do the math correctly, it's involving encoding and error correction coding. You could take that bit error rate of 10 to the minus 3, 1 in 1,000, and create a result that is 10 to the minus 3 to the power 4, which is 10 to the minus 12. With that, you've reduced by 9 orders of magnitude your error rate, and with that, you've crossed by a factor of 100 the minimal requirement of fiber quality. So with 4 wires, we can exceed reliability and the quality requirements for fiber. And when you look at another example, recently there was this technology, fairly recent, within the last 2-3 years, introduced a technology called GFAS or G.hn that can do more than a gigabit per each copper line. Now, when you look at a building, an MDU or an office building, there's never just one line coming into that building. There's always tens of them. They're packed, pretty tightly within a binder or a bundle. They're as thick as a pencil. For example, 50 wires will be going into something like my pencil in terms of thickness. And then right there, you have each of those lines deliver a gigabit to the building times 50. So 50 gigabits at your disposal at no cost, while fiber technologies were developed to deliver the 1 gigabit and recently are being upgraded to 10 gigabit. And then that information is shared amongst all the users. So this is not to say that fiber is not a great medium. We're doing fiber too. We're doing fiber and we're doing copper, and we're doing it. We're developing technology that can take them together, melt them together into a network that you don't really have to wait for the difficult locations to have right of way, to have permits to start trenching and digging and whatnot, spend a lot of money and time, but rather use what you have. You have fiber, that's great. You have copper, that's great. You have coax, that's great. We'll give you something that creates an end-to-end network that is seamless in its performance, that is highly protected and encrypted, and with latency that allows for any type of most sensitive transmissions to be delivered there. So that's what's been done before. This is how we do things, and in that I think we're kind of unique.
All right, so I'm going to do my best to try and summarize everything that you just said right now. Here we go. So basically, in essence, what Actelis has created, the technology that, correct me if I'm wrong, do you have patents on this?
Yeah, we have 30 patents about this.
30 patents. Okay, so basically what you've done previously, or what other, maybe some of your competitors out there do, is they provide either copper wire for connectivity or fiber, and you're coming in with patented technology that is basically a combination of both, that in your opinion, or according what you're selling, is higher performance than either one of those on their own. And also maybe some of your competition that are looking to do the same thing, you have higher performance. Is that the essence of Actelis?
So the essence is that we take any media and make it perform at fiber grade. And we're talking about wireline media, so things that are laid in the ground, not wireless. We're not in wireless. But if you have a hybrid network with a certain percentage of fiber penetration, which is almost never 100%. And then you supplement it with whatever they have already in the field and give it to them at fiber performance as well. And bring those together. You create a solution that moves very fast forward, no need to wait. And I can talk about an example. We've announced, which is the city of San Jose, not far from where I live here. And one of our large and interesting customers, because they are in the Silicon Valley. And you think that everybody has fiber. That's not the case. They let us know that about 15% of their junctions where they have traffic lights have fiber, and the rest of them do not. So we will wire up the entire city, regardless of whether there's fiber or not fiber, as soon as they can actually do it. It's not a matter of trenching, it's not a matter of digging, it's not a matter of right of way or asking for permits. So I think that's the message. And we have another interesting project that we've talked about, which is upgrading, digitizing highways in the UK, the entire country, with UK highways. In this case, they got about 70%, the first phase at least, 70% fiber. The rest of it is copper and coax. And we're doing both. We're giving them a system that is end-to-end, protected, managed, and fiber grade, regardless of what they have there. So assuming they wanted to use the fiber they have with an alternative competitor, because fiber is pretty much commoditized, and the rest of it they wanted to rip out and redo, it's thousands of miles of trenching and digging, and that would have taken the majority of their budget and time, regardless of whether it's only 30% or even 10%, let alone if it's 85% like in San Jose. So that's what we chose to have. We could have talked about how much we were saving the customer, because we're saying 90% of cost of deployment where they don't have fiber. But I think the more important than the leading factor is time. Because it's like it can happen today, it can happen within hours versus months, and I think that's the best message forward.
So Tuvia, so the company just went public recently, right? May 2022. You're starting to do the circuit, getting out there. And usually I say this question for a little bit later, but I think this is probably a good timing to bring it up. Like I said, you starting to talk to the investor audience and get out there, do conferences, everything. What would you say are some of the more frequently asked questions that you get from investors? And then maybe we can answer them right here.
Right. So of course, investors have different ways of approaching it. Some would look at technology, some would market. For example, we're being asked, what is your go-to-market approach? Because we are in so many markets, we're practically in all the verticals of IoT, I should say. So we've been approved by DoD to be deployed with federal applications, Navy, Air Force, and so on, and we're doing that. We are in rail, and just announced one more rail system, the Irish rail system. In this case, we're in cities. San Jose would be an example, but we have over 200 cities, smart cities that we're deploying with, and the major cities are included: New York, Los Angeles, Frankfurt, London, and so on. We are in utility companies. I would say this has been a stronger vertical for us in Europe, in Germany specifically, and we've recently announced a win with an energy provider that covers a major city, capital city in Europe. We're in airports, so we announced this win with a major operator of airports, the largest operator in the world, in operating in our contract. There's 39 countries, but they're much wider than that, much broader. So we are in all those verticals. There's really no vertical we're not into. Plus, it's spread across 30-some countries. And how do you develop that with the team you have, and what's the go-to-market approach? So on the one hand, we are working with partners. The idea is to have partners, representatives, as required for either country, region, or verticals. Some countries need more than one partner in order to approach different verticals. Others have partners that cover the entire country, regardless of verticals. And we have a nice amount of partners, and a lot more coming on board. And just that recent win with airports operator that is operating in so many countries brings up a partner in each of those countries. So we're talking tens of new partners coming on board. Some of them are really large. For example, we announced recently a partnership with a company called Norseman in the US for the federal and military government, and they're considered a very active and experienced partner in this field. But it's just one example out of tens that are coming on board as we speak. And then regarding the sales team internally, we didn't have too many salespeople. One of the reasons we went and took the company public is because we needed money to invest in sales and marketing. So since that took place, we've hired our chief revenue officer, Jan Ruderman, here in the US. Jan has a lot of experience in building sales organizations from scratch, from almost zero to hundreds of millions of dollars in federal and local government markets in the US. And his mandate is to increase his team. In fact, we've practically doubled our sales team in the US since he joined. And we're working to do the same internationally. We've also hired a marketing VP, and Sean Rand, who's coming also from those markets, those municipal markets, with 14 years of experience. And I can say that in 2022, we attended over 30 trade shows compared to just a handful we did the previous year. Because first of all, because we could afford it, and second, because we had someone to actually do it for us, drive it from within the company. So all those efforts that are being invested in spreading our coverage and putting some wood behind our hairs will build up. The nature of our customers is such that once you win this large organization, could be a city, could be a university, could be a country in some cases, you've been chosen as their preferred partner, and they go on and on with more projects and more things that are being developed over time. More budgets are being invested. This modernization doesn't go anywhere other than up, and we're talking about $1 trillion market, 150 million new digital cameras installed every year. We offer something that other people do not. Very rapid deployment, extremely cost effective, do so much more with your budget. And this is how we're able to win those customers with while the other players that could compete with us, that are normally pure fiber players, are very large companies, very no names. I don't know if I want to mention here, but it's this is what helps us make it work. And our approach is to layer more and more wins, so that souffle of opportunity develops, builds up, and we become a major player in this market.
For sure. And thank you for that. So, I want to talk about the competitive landscape, for instance, and using an example. On January 3rd, we're recording this on Friday, January 27. And, the company on January 3rd announced the Actelis was selected by Northern Ireland Railways for a safety critical project. So using just the railways vertical, I'm talking about that. In the press release, it states that they announced it's been selected by Northern Ireland Railways to enable high-speed connectivity for large-scale safety critical project. Okay. I've interviewed another company a few times that also provides IoT services to the railroad industry. So help me using this example. How is this different than maybe, say, what some of these other IoT players that are also working with railways? Is there multiple different things? Again, I'm slightly a noob, but maybe there's multiple different ways in which obviously there's IoT solutions. So explain this a little further to me if you can.
It's the same message. Railways have always had those copper lines running, for hundreds and hundreds of miles along the rail. In some cases, they've been upgraded, and they have fiber because they couldn't find a better way to speed up information running on copper before Actelis. Maybe they wanted something reliable, more reliable, because this is a mission critical thing, and fiber is not impacted by electromagnetic waves as much. In other cases, we saw rail operators using microwave links, and think of microwave links running along the rail. There's a need of multiple hops and multiple antennas, and because there's a limit to how far they can go. There's also, if there's a bend in the rail, then they're not going to see that other antenna, so it makes it more challenging. So and plus, wireless is susceptible to snow, to rain. Antennas could be covered with snow, then you get nothing. Maybe I don't want to speak to a specific project, but we have, for example, we have an installation in Alaska with the rail system over there for over 10 years now, where they use this to supplement where they had no fiber, and they wanted to use our technology as a backup to the microwave or wireless challenge they had. Very quickly, this has proven so much more reliable than anything else they had, such that became the primary system. And by the way, it's running over 100 miles. So I think for us, it's our record long length. We did just one segment for 100 miles and replacing the wireless connectivity they had there. And this is before we had our hybrid solution that can do fiber or copper or any of those mediums. So I do not know exactly what the situation was with the Irish Rail, and I'm not 100% sure I have all the information to answer your question. But normally what we see is either pure fiber players. An example would be Sienna, for example, as a pure fiber player. There are other companies too that are coming into this game, or companies that have the old type of copper technologies, which are having a little modem on each line and hoping for the best. So in either case, we're not seeing competitors that can really claim and actually stand behind the claim that says, I'm going to give you fiber grade performance on any media you have, plus I'm going to cyber secure it and encrypt it and put a reliability stamp on it that it will last pretty much forever. We have systems that have been installed for more than 15 years in the harshest weather and lightning storms and whatnot, and monsoons. So they've proven very reliable. This is why maybe the U.S. government likes it too.
Absolutely. So another question I have for you, you talked about the total addressable market, the potential here for Actelis' solution. So I mean, in your opinion, what would you say are some of the company's downside risks to capture some of that TAM?
Downside risks. Okay, so honestly, I don't see a global risk as in the one major, but there are multiple tactical risks. For example, we want to grow fast and want to invest in the markets, as many markets as possible. And we've indicated some vectors when we went public in our S1. So we want to be within pretty much all those type of verticals with a relatively small product set. And the products are designed especially such that they have multiple features to accommodate a lot of verticals. So a small product set can cover all those, and we have accomplished that. The other thing is looking at all the medias that may be required here. So yes, so we are in all those medias, and the next step is going up the speed food chain. I don't know. So we've just announced our most recently we've announced our 10 gigabit switch. So I think it's the first time that we've reached those speeds, and we're looking at a capability that is normally not required in IoT because the applications are slower than that. However, when you have bottlenecks in the network, and that's one reason for you to use higher speed switches. That's one option, and the other one is if you want to start looking at how to help deploy 5G base stations in the cities. 5G is considered an important building block for the cities, but it hasn't been moving as fast as people are hoping because it requires connectivity. It also requires to be connected to power and to be connected to some they call it backhaul, the pipe that feeds the base station so that it can start transmitting to everyone else. Now, this pipe has to be fast. 10 gigabit is like the minimum people are talking about. And what we're able to provide through our technology, and I think it's still down the road from where today, the ability to feed those base stations with 10 gigabit service, as well as power that's running on the same line. So to save a lot of money and time, and finally allow for the 5G component to be integrated nicely into cities. So when you look at all those capabilities, and tell your customers, you like fiber, that's great, we do fiber. You don't have fiber everywhere, that's fine, we'll give you fiber performance today. And by the way, the same systems could be connected to fiber in the future if you have the money to invest in it. Just go ahead, get started, run forward with your project, make so much more happen with the same budget you have. Yeah, so with that, we're hoping to contribute a little contribution to digitizing the universe. So
for sure. Well, Tuvia, to close us out here today, again, from what you can tell us, where do you want to see the company in 3 to 5 years, and what would you say are the inflection points that'll get you there?
So of course, growth is a very important component, and I mentioned before what we're doing with channels, with partners, with marketing, and this session is part of it. So we want people to know about us. We want them to know that they have an alternative, and that they can move really fast with everything they need, and save so much money. So growth is one component. The other component, which leads to the next step in the roadmap that we discussed, and again communicated in our S1, our systems are well protected today, hardened pretty well against cyber attacks. This is going to become a real big issue, I believe, as we move forward. Humanity is creating more and more trouble in this regard for cybercrime and cyber attacks, and these are critical pieces of infrastructure. And in order for this to work, it has to be very, very well protected. This is why we're looking at additional steps forward. And one of the thoughts we had was how to integrate more and more intelligence, cyber intelligence, into our network, such that it can self-heal, such that it can quarantine bad actors and cut them off at the source, rather than letting them spread through the network. And with that, create a much safer environment for our customers. And for Actelis, it's also a better business model, because at some point we're going to start offering more software and more services, better margin, and a more recurring nature to them. So within that time frame you mentioned, this is definitely where we're going.
Very good. Well, Tuvia, thank you so much for joining me today. Where can our audience go and find more information on Actelis?
Well, we have everything on our website, and they can look us up on LinkedIn. There's tons of things coming out. Almost every week there's a new win, a new thing happening. On our website for investors, there's the investor section, and they can see our company presentation and select news that we provide. But really, most of the new announcements are really not there. They're on LinkedIn, and they can find us there.
Very good. Like I said, Tuvia, thank you again for joining me. Really do appreciate it. Good luck. Stay safe. And I look forward to our next update.
Pleasure, Robert. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.